And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Ysn Power Hour brought to you by our friends at the Toyota of Warren. DJ Yoakley, joined by a very special guest, a guy who needs no introduction, over 200 wins, and now is the 1 year, first year?
1 year.
This is a 1 year deal.
It's a 1 year deal. Yeah, I was vice president. It's a long story. But yeah, I made the mistake and then looked up too soon and then got elected.
The Ohio High School Football Coaches Association, correct? Right. Bob Spade, one of the great coaches of all of the area, all of Ohio.
Let's not do that.
The general is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's not do that. That's way overstated.
So when we look at this, you and I have had a relationship the last 5 years or so, since Columbiana jumped on board YSN, and I love talking to you history in general, but football history, and you're a man who is constantly trying to do right for the high school athletes and the kids.
Thank you. We try. That's kind of, I don't do anything else. I have no other skills. I'm as my wife sometimes points out, I'm pretty incompetent at most of the household stuff. I can't fix anything. I have no special talents. So you just try and
a humble man, ladies.
You just try to use what you can. And I got a big mouth. So,
well, we're going to be trying to use that big mouth and this big platform of YSN because
appreciate that.
There's a lot of people, we talked about it before we went on the air. There's a lot of people that see the Ohio High School Athletic Association as a bully. They see them as, they see them as kind of tone deaf on a lot of the issues. It started a long time ago, but the reality, Coach,
it's gotten worse.
It has.
Okay, it wasn't that way when I first started, and we had people on board back then. Jerry Snodgrass
was awesome.
Had been part of football, were either officials or coaches or had a wide background. I don't know the total extent of the background of the gentlemen that are on there now, but I don't think, to the best of my knowledge, there's a football guy on there, which is, to me, kind of strange.
Being it's the most popular sport.
It's the cash cow. When they started, I'm sure, if you can remember back when and I'm dating myself now, back when I was very young and, in the late 60s and early 70s and stuff like that, the State Basketball Association, that was the cash cow. Mm-hmm. The state basketball tournament was the cash cow. That's where they made their money. That was it. And then they discovered that by putting on a football tournament, okay, that holy smokes, there's a whole lot more people that go to football. It's just the arenas are bigger.
Yep.
It's not that I don't know what the percentage is, but you can only fit so many people in a gym.
Right.
You can fit a whole lot more people in Mollenkoff Stadium or Ohio State Stadium or anywhere you choose.
Sure.
Okay. So I think they realized that there is and football in Northeast Ohio and in Ohio in general is
king.
It's one of the big dogs.
Yeah.
You're a basketball guy. It's Indiana, Kentucky, no question about it. If you're soccer or lacrosse, you're in upstate New York or New England. Okay, you're a football guy. You're Texas, Florida. Deep South, Alabama, and the boys. It's a religion.
In Ohio,
and here in Ohio, it's pretty serious stuff.
So let's start the conversation off by explaining kind of what the OHSAA is supposed to do as opposed to what it does.
When they first started the tournament, and this is just my research and history, so please, nobody out there, I am not saying this is gospel. If I'm incorrect in any way, shape, or form, I'll gladly listen to you, and if you can show me where you're at, I'll stand corrected. But to my knowledge, okay, when they first started the tournament back in the 70s, okay, they first decided they were going to go to, instead of A, AA, AAA, they were going divisions and they started doing things. And the very early on, it was they only took the top two, which was really crazy. Mm-hmm. They just matched everybody in the state, and then they went to a 4-team format. And then they went to regions. And in the very, very early stages, I know, I think it was Claire Mascaro again, but I could be wrong. But I think it was Claire Mascaro who was a director. They sent every school in the state that had a football team a piece of the pie. I think it was like $1,500, somebody told me. It's my understanding now that I've heard, rumor has it, that the OSHA is going to do that again this coming fall. They're going to give everybody that plays 11-man football $1,500, or they're going to throw some pennies at us now. $1,500 back in the 70s was a little bit of a big deal.
Sure.
$1,500 right now is
stimulus checks.
Gee, thanks. I can get some coffee now. Good. But seriously. And then they expanded the playoffs from 4 to 8. And the idea was to give more people, and it benefited. It really did. In the early days, there was never a chance anybody in Columbiana County was going to make the playoffs. That just wasn't going to happen. Lisbon's one of the very first ones that did, I believe. Again, I could be corrected on this. And there was some buzz, and then all of a sudden they went from 4 divisions to 5 divisions. They went from 5 to 6, and now they're at 7. And each time they asked the Ohio High School Football Coach Association our opinion. I've been a director. I don't know. I'm a director of Region 8. Let's see. Mike Pav took over as vice president. I took over for him, the Region 8 director. Oh boy, it's 12, 15 years now. I don't know. But anyway, long story short is, they wanted to expand the playoffs, and they asked the Ohio High School Athletic Association football coaches to come up with what do you think? And so Mike Pav and myself did a lot of research. Right. We spent almost a whole year, and we thought expanding to 12 was about as far as you could go. And you looked at it, and we went back and we went through the playoff picture. We didn't count COVID. We went through the whole thing, and you looked it back. And at the time, the best example locally was Springfield went 9-1 and didn't get in. And I'd been on that boat too. Sure. I'd been 7-3 and 8-2, and right there on the cusp, and couldn't quite crack that. And had what I thought were pretty good teams that you had a bad. You have a bad game, you have a bad break, or a stupid coach's call or something. Yeah. And, so. The long. I'm trying not to be too lengthy. I apologize.
We got an hour, Coach.
Okay. So when we did the research, we presented the thing, 12 teams, and they said, "Well, why not 16? That way, you're merit. Our solution was 12. First 4 get a bye. Boom, through this. If you're the 12th seed, even if you're 6-4." And there could have been a 5-5 or something. Make that maybe 4-6 if you played a really tough conference, but you would have to play 2 games before you get matched up with number 1.
Right.
And it wasn't unanimous, but it was a majority vote of the director said, okay, that we can live with that. We presented that. The Ohio High School Association sat there, listened very politely. Well, why not 16? We tried to explain them. 16 versus 1 is not good.
Right.
That's not going to be, it's going to be not a good situation. And okay, fine. And then we thought we had 12. We did. They walked out. The guys committee, I think we finally, we made an impact here. And then it wasn't a month later, it came out, oh, we're going to 16.
I remember.
And we were like, what happened? So the mission of the Ohio High School Athletic Association, I always thought, was to promote sportsmanship and participation, and to give young men and ladies an opportunity for what is, I think, something heroic, athletics, high school athletics. Now they don't make any bones about it. Their goal is to make money.
Yeah.
They flat out just say, we need to make money. We need to make sure we can cover our costs.
So from that standpoint,
yes,
when you're talking about, you mentioned going from 4 divisions to 7 divisions in football. When I look at that, I see opportunities to include more people at your birthday party, right? Mm-hmm. Same with 16 teams making the playoffs, because as every parent knows, the more people you invite to a birthday party, the more presents your kid's going to get, the happier your kid's going to get, and the bottom line increases. So it's a revenue opportunity.
Absolutely.
So when you look at this, I don't think you're off at all. But I think you can look at this 100 different ways, and nobody can tell you that you're wrong in 100% certainty. Because you look at this, the revenue has gone up for the Ohio High School Athletic Association. You've got numbers. We're going to get to those in just a minute. The biggest thing that I've noticed is any opportunity they can. And we had an experience over the spring softball tournament that threw me for a loop, because we've tried to help promote the OHSAA. We've done everything that they've asked of us, bent over backwards. We pay an exorbitant amount of money to stream these high school games.
Okay.
We're allowed to stream them for free, which we pass on, obviously, to our viewers who watch YSN. But when we get to the OHSAA tournament, everything is a dollar amount. Even the sectionals, $100 a game. And then we have 60 plus teams. So you do the math, they're making at least $3,000 a round off of us if everybody gets in. But then you look at, there's 6 different radio streaming operations that they pack into a booth, and they make that money extremely off of every single one. So they're making money coming and going. And what they did in 2020 that I thought was absolutely cowardly was they blamed COVID on everything.
Oh boy. Did they ever?
It was awful, Coach. And this isn't just a OHSA pinata. We're going to spit some facts here that the revolution has begun. The ride has begun.
Well,
and Coach, talk about some of that stuff. I mean, during COVID, there was a lot of dirty laundry.
It was one of the most amazing things to me that really just kind of, like you said, made me take a step back. When when we would go through 2-a-days.
Yeah.
And this happened with my very early, it came out really, 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 really early in my career. I was a Southern local. Okay. We had to have weight charts, and we were read the Riot Act. Okay. You guys have to keep these, because if you have a kid suffer any type of heat related injury and you don't have this accurately done, it's going to cost you your job. It's going to cost you a bunch of money, and you got to do this. And okay, fine. And we had to go through training. We did the whole thing, and we kept them charts meticulously. And every year we get the chart, and the ADs are on us as coaches. You got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this. You have to have these weight charts. Must have. When did you have them for every practice? Yeah, every practice. So they would send you charts, and you didn't have enough. You had to make up your own, because you'd have 22, 23 2-a-days, okay, which is 40 plus 50 practices, and you didn't have enough room, and you had to keep this. And we kept it. Nobody ever did anything with it, but you get ingrained in that. And okay, we're weighing in, we're weighing out, we're weighing in, we're weighing out. Bada, bada, bada. Suddenly COVID hits, and it's, never mind. Then last year, they didn't even send us the chart. So COVID's over, okay? But now suddenly that thing that was so important that we were going to get sued, and, never mind. It really, to me, kind of exposed they want to make sure they have control over things.
They want their thumb on it.
Okay? They want to do that, and they want to keep you in line. And the other part that has frustrated us, and this is just dirty laundry from the past.
Sure.
The recruiting that goes on, an open enrollment has been a nightmare. Don't get me wrong, Columbiana's benefited some from over. We've gotten hurt by it, and we've benefited.
Sure.
We're fortunate in our school. We have more open enrollment students coming into Columbia than we have leaving, but we have a large number leaving. Okay. And to me, that's just, I wish they would do away with that, but that is a nightmare. And that just turned up the recruiting wars, if you will. And it's just very, very difficult. I think they speak out of both sides of their mouth.
They do.
Okay. I think that if they can make money at it, they're willing to look the other way on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we have a saying around here that chocolate milk isn't going to pay all the bills.
Yeah,
because that's the official, not a brand of chocolate milk, just chocolate milk in general, which I don't know how that ever has worked with sponsorship when you don't have somebody isolated and say, hey, it's, XYZ chocolate milk and not this other chocolate milk. But I digress. So you gave us some papers to look at here,
Sure.
which I thought was really interesting. And I'm going to start with your email, if you don't mind, that you sent
Sure.
to all the local
Sure.
news stations, including us. And you basically said, this is your crusade as the 1-year term as a president of the OHS FCA. You know, you're very proud to represent a group that you've been a member of for over 40 years. But you went on to say that the association has, over the last 5 years, since before COVID, had several private disagreements with the OHSAA. They have, in your opinion, become increasingly less concerned about this high school and student athletes and more concerned about the bottom line, which you've already said here today. The latest disclosure that they're sitting on is that they're sitting on $20 million with over $3 million in their retirement account, while the 2021 high school football budgets went into the red.
Yes.
How crazy is? I mean, you must have been seeing red writing this email.
What brought this home to me is I've become friend. Tiger Laverty is now as you know, he's one of the great coaches in Ohio and up at Kirkland, and I've been good friends with Reno Sokosh down at Steubenville, Big Red, and those two guys. Those are two schools their program is built. When they pass out their summer calendar, they include the state championship game.
Yep.
That's where they expect to be. That's where they're going. That's what their whole focus is, and that's another thing we can get into later on. I think that expanding the playoffs has hurt leagues. The reason it's the Wild West as far as leagues breaking up and reforming and stuff, it all has to do with the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's 100% about the playoffs.
Well, you're playing 60% of your high school schedule in the playoffs.
Yeah, it doesn't make you're asking high school kids to play 16 games.
Pro schedule.
The NFL doesn't play 16 consecutive weeks.
Nope.
Okay. Division I BCS football doesn't play 16 weeks.
They got bye weeks.
Okay. It doesn't make any sense. Yet we're asking 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids to tough it and go. And we're stupid as coaches. Our vanity will not, if we had any, if we could all band together and collectively find the courage to say, we're just not playing. Okay. No, we're going to sit this out. We're not doing it 1 year. Okay. We won't. And I wouldn't. I got a team.
Sure.
And what brought this home, like I said, with Tiger Laverty, not this last year, the previous year when they won the state championship, they went in the red. Their athletic department was in the reds, $13,000. They broke their booster club. Their booster club had no money for basketball because they spent it all on football. This last year, Tiger, he has a team of 60 plus. They could only afford to take, he had to pick 28 quote unquote starters. Those are the kids that went down and spent the night before the game. They played the first game of the day. Those guys spent the night at the hotel, and the rest of the team bust down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's just and they just simply can't afford it. The OSHA, when the playoffs started, okay, I was at Columbiana when I first experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our first year we were very lucky, and there were some years there following and in the early O's where we were pretty good and we were making the playoffs regularly. Well, you got a percentage of the gate, you got a percentage of your pre-sale. We pushed really hard. It was $1. It was only $1, but hey, listen, $1 of this. So our fans, buy your tickets early. You know, we get $1 for every ticket.
Hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, they paid for, both teams got meal money for football players and cheerleaders. Okay, if you were the visiting team, you got mileage for X number of for every. They had a limit where if you had so many players, you got 2 buses. If you had so many more players, you got 3 buses. And they paid for the band bus. They did that. Well, and then that was all the way through the playoffs. Well, then they cut out the meal money for the home team. Then they cut out the percentage of the pre-sale. And then they cut out the mileage for the buses. And you had situations like Lisbon last year, David Anderson.
Yeah, I remember.
They spent $3,000 and $5,000 respectively to travel for a 1-game playoff. Okay, that's just not right.
3.5 hours.
Yes.
That's a 7-hour bus ride.
That's
you think about
crazy. Because again, you could host the first round game, okay, region wise, and there was a chance you were gonna travel, but at least you got mileage for it, and you got meal money for it. You didn't get that now. You don't get that. They don't get that.
You're on your own.
Okay. Now I've been told that this last year they finally did give. Oh, and that was the other thing. If you hosted a game, they whatever your expenses were, they paid for. And I was the AD at the time, and I don't know that I was doing anything nefarious but what we did was my chain crew works it's called me, and all the high schools around here, they work for nothing.
Yep.
Okay. Your clock operator generally works for nothing. Your announcer generally works for nothing. Well, if you hosted a playoff game, you gave those people $25.
Yep.
You listed them that, and they listed down, you got $25. You took care of your ticket takers, which get paid by the school, but you upped the fee a little bit. And it was a way to, $25. It's not even.
It incentivizes it.
It's just a way of saying thank you.
Yep.
Okay. They took all that away. Now I got an email from Mike Helm. He was another guy that didn't give me any bones about using it. The reason this last year they couldn't find playoff sites. They have trouble finding playoff sites. Okay. Schools don't want to do it because they give you a flat fee of $2,000. Okay. That doesn't cut it.
No.
And now this year we're going all Friday nights. Everybody, all Friday nights, all the way through. All 7 divisions, all on Friday night, all the way through. Now, in fairness, to be totally honest, the majority of the state wants that.
Yeah.
We in Northeast Ohio don't.
Right.
Okay. We don't. We have, and they looked at me like I was crazy. Even the other directors, like, you guys really, oh yeah, our fans go and see other people, and as coaches, if I didn't make the playoffs, I'm going to 2 games that weekend. If I did make the playoffs, whatever night we didn't play, I'm going and watching South Range or Crestview, or what's the good game? What's the good matchup?
Yeah.
Well, they're all on Friday night now, so I don't know how they're going to find. Well, obviously, the first couple rounds you get to host it, okay. And then last year, I think, again, don't quote me on this, but I think it was, I want to say 2,000 for the regional championship game, 3,000 for the Final Four, and 5,000 for the championship game. You got reimbursed. So a team like Kirkland, okay, could have brought, instead of losing 13,000, they still would have lost money, but they would have got 8,000 of that back in the championship run. So we'll see how that goes.
There's an element to this that we haven't discussed yet, and a lot of people are kind of glazing over, and that is that I believe last year or 2 years ago, I don't remember, the OHSAA started charging member schools.
Oh boy, that was 2 years ago.
Okay, so you add that to it, and you said $1,500, and I talked to another athletic director who was a little bit frustrated because, hey, they got their money back, right? But it didn't even cover what their varsity sports cost them to be a part of in the OHSAA. So I guess, they're giving money back, but they've also taken money the last 2 years from people is this kind of a, hey, watch what we're doing in this hand while this is going on in the left?
I can't think of the TV show or the movie, but yeah, it's every bad joke, unfair, I'm sure in a lot of instances. I don't mean to disparage a group. It's every bad stereotype of a used car salesman.
Yeah.
It's every, look at what we're giving you here, and we'll give you the extra,
and they're selling you a lemon is what they're doing. Because I mean, when they brought that to the table, I thought to myself, listen, I'm not an athletic director. I never claimed to be. Wouldn't even after 2020, I wouldn't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. That's why I admire them so much. But I couldn't understand why more superintendents, more athletic directors didn't stand up and say, whoa, 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 whoa. Why do we need you?
That's the big question that I have, and and the superintendents I've had the conversation with, I just think they have so many other things on their plate.
I'm sure.
I think there's so much stuff that has come down in education, and quite honestly, for some superintendents, it's not their ox that's getting gored.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't make the playoffs, and we don't have much of a chance of making the playoffs, even at 16. So I'm not going to protest this. And I've been told that the superintendents are the only ones that the OSHAA may listen to. Our local coaches associations, which is also very frustrating. Okay. So it's not just football. They just, and I think, and I'm biased. I am. I think our football coach association does an unbelievable job. Jerry Cook sent me, he's our executive director, sent me basically the clinic that we put on and the stuff that we do, the North-South game, how much money we bring into Massillon Canton, how much money we bring into the greater Columbus area by holding the clinic with 2,000 coaches. It's an incredible, we do a lot of stuff to benefit, and we are a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Now we have $40,000 in an emergency fund. We do.
Yeah.
Okay. But we hand out over $100,000 in scholarships every year. I mean, I quite honestly don't know what the OSHAA does. That's a real benefit.
They throw a birthday party. That's what they do.
It's not a huge benefit. And I'm a little biased, and this is and I'll get myself in trouble by doing it. But I know for a fact, as football coaches, we could run the tournament. I know we'd run the tournament. I know we'd run it fair. Would we make a little bit of money in soccer? Would we sock 10 or 15% away? Yeah, probably. We would do that. But we would pay out. We would pay out to the schools 80% or more to, you got to feed the lion. I mean, if he's the attraction, you got to take care of him. And it just doesn't seem, I don't know, it doesn't seem right. Like I said, when we went, I gave you those figures, the attendance, we had our highest attendance ever this last fall. It's.
So let's give some of those numbers. Okay. So last fall,
2022. Yes.
Yeah. The attendance was over 1,047,000.
Yep.
And change. The ticket,
that's all fall tournaments.
The ticket revenue that was brought in was close to $9.5 million.
Yes.
This is a nonprofit we're talking about.
And then if you look beside that, you go other revenue. That's guys like you.
Yeah.
Other revenue. Okay.
I paid a heavy chunk of that $123,000. I know that.
Yeah.
The expenses. Listen, everybody's got expenses. That's called business, right? They got $5.5 million, and then total profit you have listed here $4,017,799. Listen,
and that takes to keep in mind that profit of $4 million takes into account that golf and girls tennis lose money.
Yep.
And we all understand that. We know that going in. Listen, football. Boys basketball, football, that's every high school. Those two sports pay the bill. If you're lucky, you got a great girls team, basketball team, they'll make some money. Volleyball will make a little bit of money. Track, very hard to make money in track. Baseball and softball at high school level is a complete wash because you can't charge in almost every. Toronto's the one exception.
Edison as well charges now.
Okay.
Yep.
There are exceptions, but by and large, Firestone Park
can't do it.
Our baseball program it's just as an AD, I used to joke and say, I wish we could do away with spring sports because we would end up in the black very healthy. Overnight. And again, I don't mean that disparagingly to any of I want our kids to play those sports.
But you're supposed to run a business as well.
Yeah,
when people look at the numbers and you go, listen, we can fix this, but we've got to get away. I get it. Here's the crazy part. This is just the fall. This is just the fall numbers. This
is fall.
This isn't basketball,
No.
which makes a mint because everybody gets into the tournament for basketball, which is why I'm interested to ask you this next question. Because in 2020, when COVID happened, everybody got in to the big party, right? And you were an advocate of, you didn't like that. You don't like 16. You still think 12, which we got a comment here from Sam, who says, I wholeheartedly agree that 12 is the magic number, but I love 16 because it means more football. But I think that it's nearsighted because only once have we seen a 16 beat a 1. And when that happened, I remember thinking to myself, 16 is never going to go away, and it's only a matter of time before everybody gets in.
And we tried to point out that to the directors in the meeting. Okay, well, why not include? Listen, and the fact that they would even ask that question shows you the lack of knowledge of some football. And again, if this sounds condescending, I apologize. I'm not. I'm a huge basketball fan. I love all athletics. I want my grandsons to play every sport they possibly can. You know, in this day and age, we need everybody playing as many athletic things because we just need that.
Yep.
But the condescending part, football is a different animal. It is not a good situation. I tell our players, and I say this, and I tell our parents, you can't play this game for anybody else but you. Okay? If you're playing football because your mom wants you to, or your dad, or your uncle, or your grandpa, and you hate it, you're going to get whacked. It's not good. You can wrestle and hate it, and all that's going to happen is you're going to get pinned in 30 seconds. Yeah. Okay? In football, it's a miserable existence. Yeah. Okay? It really is. It's zero fun at that point. So the fact that they think that everybody should get in is nuts. It's not a good situation. I caught a little bit of flack last year. Not a lot. I caught a little bit of flack. We were 0-7. The state still has the rule. Week 7, if you're not going to be in the playoffs, you can opt out. Okay. If you opt out after week 7, it costs the school, I don't know, it's $150 or $250. They fine you for dropping out after week 7. I really don't know why, but so, and I caught a little bit of flack because we were 0-7.
Yeah.
And I also knew we had a terrible run of injuries, but we were getting a lot of those kids back, and we were playing 3 teams that I thought we had a shot, not a guarantee, but a shot we could maybe finish 3-0. Okay. And finish at 3-7.
Yeah.
And my reward for finishing 3-7 was going to be to travel an hour and a half and play Kirkland. Okay. That's not a reward. That's not a good thing.
But you also, I think, you have to look at this, yes, from a competitive football coach standpoint, but you have to look at it as a father, as a grandfather,
absolutely,
as you love your kids, you love your players, and you have to look at it from an injury standpoint, because if one of your kids goes down, and you said you had that run of injuries, you're going to second guess yourself. You have to lay your head on the pillow at night as well.
Well, and again, that's why I think 12 is the magic number, because again, okay, I'm 5-5. Even if I would say if I was 3-7 and we'd finished 12th.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not playing the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
I got to play 2 games before I face number 1. Okay, so in my situation, we had a run of injuries.
Yep.
Okay, so I'd have taken a healthy Columbiana team and played. What would that have been if we'd have finished 12th? We'd have had to play number. How does that? How I can't think how it was, but whatever it was, we weren't playing the top. Okay, I'll go play you. Mm-hmm. And if I win that one and I win the next one, now suddenly I'm 5. Now suddenly I'm 5-7. Okay, I'll play number 1 at that point.
But it also builds in that bye week we were talking about earlier, where you're not playing. If you're the 1 seed, if you deserve it, you don't have to play 15 weeks in a row. You play, 10 weeks, then you get a bye.
And there are some coaches out there that really don't want that. We heard that argument. No, I don't want a bye week. I wanted to. Well, I understand their point, and you don't want a bye week right now. But I'm telling you right now, your starting Q rolls his ankle week 10.
You want it.
You want a bye week.
Yeah. Here's a guy you might know. Dan Yeagley. Does that ring a bell? He says, thank you, DJ and Coach
hero.
Spate. Yes, he is. For educating everyone. Coach Spate and the OHS FCA do a fantastic job in what's best for kids. Thank you very much. So
I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm very fortunate to be. It's really kind of I hope I don't screw it up. I take it as a great honor to be a president of this association, because as I've been part of it, as I sit back and watch these guys, and these are coaches from all over the state, okay, and the people we have and the hours they spend about football, of going to national conventions and working hand in glove with the Division I universities in this state, of there's a direct relationship with Ohio State. And with Luke Fickell at Cincinnati, there's a very tight relationship, and up in Toledo, and all of them. It's just a great association. It really is. I've been very blessed to be part of this. The guys work hard, and everything they do is to promote Ohio high school football.
Yeah.
So
I'm interested to hear your take on this. Do you think it's going to take the OHS FCA to get involved and take a stand, and to be that one guy or one kid in the hallway that stands up to the bully for everybody else? Because I think this is the domino that needs to fall.
We've discussed that,
yeah,
and we've talked about that, and it's not that there have been guys that have tried, and Jerry Cook has fought the fight for years. I mean, more years than I can count. 40 plus years.
Yeah.
They've fought the good fight, and they've done that, and they have, and they will continue to, and they continue to do that quiet work behind there. They continue to be that voice of reason behind the whole thing, of presenting and continuing to be polite and they kind of laugh at me a little bit, because I said, fellas, listen, I've only got a 1-year deal here. I'm going to be a little bit more vocal than you guys. And their whole thing was, well, good luck. They're with, but I also think they realize they just been shot down so long. And we've had time and time again where they've met and presented things, and we at every director's meeting, there's an OSHA representative that comes to the meeting and gives us the update. We have a playoff committee meeting, and we talk about the playoff specifically with the OSHA representative and what's good and what's bad. And we talked about this, and that's where the all Friday night thing came in, because again, that was a majority of the OSHA,
sure,
Ohio high school football coaches. Excuse me, the majority of the football coaches want all Fridays.
Yeah,
they do. Okay, I'm not one of them, but listen, I'm your president. Okay, I'll. That's what you want. Okay, we'll fight for it. That's what we'll go with. And
do you think that, because you think about that quickly, and I've been kind of marinating it the last 20 minutes or so, the numbers are going to go down in ticket sales for the OHSAA?
I don't know. I don't know what they think the advantage. I know what each school believes.
Yeah,
coaches that want this, and I understand them, and these are guys that like Tiger Laverty.
Sure.
I want to be on Friday. I don't want to be Friday 1 year, Saturday 1 year. Okay, and Reno and all.
I get it. Yeah.
And I get it. I get it. They got a routine. They got a.
But it surprises me, the same people that made the decision to go against what you said agreed with this, knowing, and unless they didn't do the math, like guys like you that are going to play on a Friday night and go watch a game on Saturday.
Apparently, there's not enough of us.
That's incredible.
Apparently, the OSHA isn't worried about that.
I don't. Other than for them, I don't see any advantage for the coaches in high school.
Just to put a little perspective in this, I know in the Columbus area, the biggest reason, and that's quite a section of the state as far as coaches
sure,
in schools. Okay, their deal has always been, we can't compete with Ohio State. Okay, we got now up here. Our fans are here in Northeast Ohio. We're goofy enough that we'll take I used to take, people would take I'm dating myself now, transistor radio or something. But now, they stream it live on your phone. And okay, I'm listening or watching Ohio State while I'm sitting and watching.
Yep.
Okay.
We live it.
Canfield play, whoever, I'm at the South Range game, but I've got the phone on. I'm watching South Range, but I'm also,
You can see what's going on in
down
Ohio
there.
State.
Apparently that doesn't happen. Okay.
Another question: how about the travel that requires kids to leave school? Almost makes sense to go all Saturday, other than Friday. But like you said, go up against Ohio State. That's
the majority of football. The vast majority of football coaches want to keep that routine on Friday. And certainly whoever that gentleman was that posted that, that's going to be an issue. So again, it goes back to that. It goes back to me, what's the benefit? What's the benefit versus the cost? What's the benefit versus the cost? And again, we're going to do that, and we'll make it work. The one thing I have found out coaching all these years and being around football coaches, well, all coaches, but in particular football coaches, they'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
Okay. They are, by our nature, problem solvers.
Yep.
Okay. By our nature, this is an issue. This is a problem. How are we going to fix this?
Yeah.
Okay. And they'll come up with something. You're right. The travel. See, to me, that's the tough part of the. I understand. I like the hosting. I like the first round games being hosted. That's kind of a reward. It used to be a real nice reward when you got pre-sale.
Yeah.
We used to print up a little when we were kind of consistent there. We would print up a supplemental program. There would be extra income.
Yeah.
You got the concession stand. The band was all happy. Everybody's. It was a good deal. It was. And then the state took all that money away. It's still a good deal, but not nearly as good as it was. It's not. It's like I said, if Columbiana would have, the example I give, if Columbiana would have made the playoffs and we would have had to travel an hour and a half to Kirkland, would we have had a following? Our parents would have came.
Yep.
I don't know that grandparents would have came.
Yeah.
Because you get to the point, and I think they're finding that out. There's a tipping point there in ticket costs.
Yep.
How much can you charge before? When I was the athletic director, that was always one of the battles we talked about. Charging tickets just for regular season games. Yeah. It was, and how do we take care of our senior citizens? And how do we take care of our people in Columbiana or Palestine or whatever whatever it was? And so, that's always been a battle. That's
well, it's interesting too. And you mentioned that most football coaches are problem solvers. So, I'm trying to teach the younger generation, my kids, that you don't come with a problem without having at least an idea for a solution. So we talk about these things, Coach, and I know that you've thought about, okay, I'm going to bring this wagon full of problems, but I got this wagon full of solutions. If you were, and nobody,
king of the universe,
if you were the king of the universe, if you were the guy, the that runs right now, they said, hey, you know what? You did such a good job with the OHFCA that we're giving you the keys to the kingdom,
give the keys to the kingdom,
to the OHSAA.
Well, there'd be a lot of people that would question that decision. Okay, there'd be a lot of people petitioning to get somebody impeached. But if I were king of the universe, okay, to me, 12. Number one, it'd be a 12.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I just do not think 16 is a good number. It's just not the solution. The second thing, to me, it should be at least a zero-sum game.
Okay.
For a person that makes the playoffs to travel. Okay, if you're the team that has to do the traveling,
got to break even.
Okay, at least it needs to be a zero-sum thing. You can't be going into the red. Okay, for being successful.
Any sport.
Any school.
Yep.
Regardless. If you're the host school, there should be a profit margin there. And I don't know what the magic number is. I don't know how you would work it out. Like I said, to me, it wasn't great, but it was terrible to where both sides got the pre-sale. Okay, or $1 of the pre-sale. I personally think both sides should keep their pre-sale.
Yeah.
That would increase your attendance, number one. The benefits to you, and you're still going to have late walk-ups for people that just forget that are going to get that. The state could take that cut. Yeah. And, if you did that, you would have to negotiate, okay, who's going to pay? The game expenses have to come out.
Yep.
Okay. But after that, like I said, at the very, 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 very minimum, it should be a zero-sum thing, a zero-sum game to win a state championship.
I don't think that's a bad idea leading all the way up to the state semi and the state championship, because I think the state semi, state championship, the OHSA should be able to throw a little bit bigger party. They have the expenses, they have Tom Benson Stadium, they have all of that. They do it. But leading up to that, I think that it should be the schools, and they should get the greater, because you think about it from a business standpoint, these kids are out selling candy bars, and there's 50,000 fundraisers. But when you're there on a Friday night, the most electric thing that people remember more than anything, wins, losses, whatever, is they remember going through the tunnel and seeing all their entire town there.
Absolutely.
And if you're out there hustling and selling tickets, Grandma, you got to buy a ticket off me, because listen, she's buying that candy bar. Grandma, buy 10 candy bars if that's what you need to be prom king. But if you send these kids out and they sell tickets, I mean, it's been done before. That place is packed, and there's an electricity in the air that's just not there anymore.
And Mike Pavlansky had the great quote when we were debating this with the OSHAA. Okay, and their thing was, well, everybody, you're getting more kids involved in the playoff experience. And Mike Pav's quote, I'll try and quote him, but it was, not all experiences are positive. And negative experiences sometimes are better not to have had.
Yeah.
It's not going and getting thumped is not something you puff your chest out about.
No.
Listen, the teams around here have never beaten Kirkland. Okay. We've taken their best shot, then they've taken our best shot. Okay. But I wouldn't trade, like, we've done it. Cressview's done it. South Range has done it. Springfield's went out. Listen, there is no shame in the way our guys played or any of those guys played. Okay. There would have been, this year's, like I said, at 3-7, no. Okay.
But you can't blame Tiger too.
No.
You know what I mean?
God, no.
Tiger,
you got to play the ones you're playing.
That's it.
You got to play. You can only do what's dictated. This isn't against anybody.
Sure.
Okay. It's not like, okay, I really don't want this fight, but we'll fight.
Because you think about it in there, and we've talked about this on the show before, is what happens if their quarterback rolls an ankle against a 16 seed, and then you got to get ready for whatever comes next.
No question.
You're in trouble. So
it's just a different. It's just such a different. The atmosphere was so great, and I'll tell you, this is the true story. Okay, when it was just 4, the first 2 years we made it at Columbiana, 94, 97. Okay, it was just 4 teams making it, and we were very good both those years, 10-0 and 9-1,
mm-hmm.
and in both cases, okay, that was back in the bad old days before technology and everything else, and you literally had to wait for the phone call.
Yeah.
Okay. And we in both situations, the first time we make it, we're at Coach Boffman's house, and we're one of my sisters, and the whole team's there, and we're just it's
like you see on ESPN.
It's a party till you find out if you make it. And the second time we made it in 97, we were a couple years into it. We had now figured out a little bit. There were guys out there that could do the Joe Attell wasn't around, but it was the pre-Joe Attell that could do all the numbers, could do all the calculations. And you knew, and I'll never forget this. 97, we played Lisbon at Lisbon for the league championship. Won and got on the bus, and we're going, man, there wasn't a lot of celebration. I mean, we're glad we won, but man, I hope we make the playoffs. I don't know where, because it all came down to Apple Creek Waynedale had to beat Dalton, it was something like, and my son, God bless him, drove to that game. And then we had the answering machine. This shows you how old we are. Okay. We had an answering machine in the locker room, the old that was tied to the phone, and he left the message of the score of that, and the place just went nuts.
Oh,
okay. It was, so you miss that part of it.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine any team that's 16, that's bubbling on that 16, is going, boy, I sure hope we make the playoffs.
Do you think that there's more teams, and this is, we're not going to name teams because we've seen teams, like you said, you opted out. You think there's teams that sit there honestly and go, man, I kind of hope we don't make it at this
I
point?
think
Because
there's some private conversations that are had. Okay, I think coaches aren't stupid. I'm sure that they probably would never tell their kids that.
yeah,
But when they'll sit in staff meetings and go, man, this is going to be okay. We got to start scouting. Okay, do we really? Okay, and you look at things, and you go, man. Okay, I mean, let's face it, we're all optimists. Every coach, any sport. Yeah, we can do this. You talk yourself into it. We can do this. Okay, but
there's the devil on the shoulder that says,
yeah, I know. And David can beat Goliath once in a while, but there's a whole lot more stories about Goliath beating guys that aren't being told.
So, what needs to be done by the OHSA? If you were to make a plea right now, you have the platform. What does the OHSA need to do to make things right for the student athlete, for the schools, for its member schools that are paying money?
Listen to people who have skin in the game. Listen, and not just football. Do the same thing with basketball. Do the same thing with every sport. Every sport has a coaches association.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't speak to the other ones. I don't know how well they're run. I don't know what their makeup is. All I know is if it's anything close to what the Football Coaches Association is, the guys that spend time and genuinely look out for the best thing that's possible for this sport, listen to the people that have skin in the game. Okay. If it's not practical, then explain it to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, we can't give you that money because here's a list of expenses and see this profit margin. That's really just on black and white paper. That's not really there because here's the hidden expenses that's done. Okay. Well, fine. Tell us.
Yeah.
Just tell me. Explain to me where I'm wrong. Explain to me why you need a $20 million bank account and still continue to make a $5 million profit or a $4 million profit
in a season.
Why do you need that much money? Maybe I'm certainly not the smartest guy out there. I'll be the first to tell you that right now. Okay. Maybe there's something in the organization they're doing that I don't maybe they're giving money away that I don't know they're giving it. Maybe they're helping fund orphans in Ethiopia. I don't know. Okay. I mean, if that's what they're doing, great. I'm all for it. But how about letting us know?
All right. Last question I have for you, because this is one that I've thought about a lot. And I don't know if you follow golf at all.
A little bit.
PGA, Live Tour. Okay.
Knew that.
PGA, it almost needed a competitor to kind of settle the thing the way it is. And since they've basically merged, do you think that the state, the student athletes, the schools would benefit from a competitor for the OHSAA?
We've talked about this, several coaches. I've talked to some former superintendents. I've talked to some guys. If we can organize a tea party of sorts and break off and just say, we're just not coming to your party. We're going to have our own party. Kind of like the WPIL did over in Pennsylvania. The state association, the state Pennsylvania Association, for the longest time was like, we need you to do this. And the WPIL is like, no, we're happy. We're good. We're Western Pennsylvania. This is where football is. We're okay. We don't need to play the eastern part of the state.
Do you think that Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, is strong enough?
I think Northeast Ohio could pull it off. There's a lot of, you could go down through the list of, there's some really good football people here. Okay. I'd love to float this to Jim Tressel. I'd love, he's retired now. Hey, Jim, here you go, buddy. Opportunity. Okay. Opportunity knocking.
Yeah.
Here we are. We need some help. You get somebody like that that says, okay, we'll organize an independent association, Northeast Ohio football. Here it is. Okay. I'm telling you right now, I'd be knocking down my superintendent's door saying, hey, we need it out of the OSHA and we need to do this. We need to join these guys. We need to join this revolution. Okay. Give me an axe. I'm throwing some tea overboard. Okay. I'd gladly do that, So I don't know. I don't know if we can, I just think, I don't know that that's practical. That's pie in the sky. That's me talking like an idiot. Okay. But,
does it need a rebellion? Does the OHSA need a rebellion in order to correct the course?
They need something. They need someone to rattle their cage. And someone said that to me about, Bob, you're not going to make it. Okay, that's fine. I don't. One of my favorite lines, and I'm not enough of a scholar to know the whole thing, but don't go quietly into that good night. Rage, rage, rage against the morning light. That's kind of my deal here. I guess. I guess. I just want at least somebody to hear that this isn't right. This is not right. You cannot be a nonprofit and sit on $20 million. That's insanity. That defies all logic.
And make it off the backs of 14 to 18
and exactly, and how you're making it, and doing it off of, to me, the greatest sport. And again, I'm biased. I know that, but it's the last team sport, in my opinion, that challenges you, that requires the dedication. That requires you to be a little bit heroic.
Discipline.
You gotta. It's not for everybody.
Right.
It truly isn't. It's not. I'm getting all dopey.
Okay.
It's not. It's not for everybody, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I tell our kids that all the time. It's playing football doesn't make you a man. Don't think that for 1 second. That's not. It's not gonna suddenly make you some kind of. But okay, by God, it'll teach you how to be one.
I appreciate it. Coach, thank you so much for coming in today.
No, that's no problem.
You're always welcome here. Anything you need, always.
I appreciate you giving me the format.
You got it, my brother. Coach Spate, Bob Spate from Columbiana, and the president, El Presidente of the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association for the year. Thank you again for coming in. Appreciate you. And that's going to wrap it up for our show today. Tune in tomorrow. Scotty Minter joins us here on the Ysn Power Hour presented by our friends at Toyota of Warren. See you. Ysn thanks you for watching this